Hello, hello. It is Tuesday night impromptu live stream night. This is actually kind of fun. I don't normally do live streams outside of the Thursday live, not that often anyway. And I've got three this week. So tonight I've got Rob from Neo Cards and Comics. I've got Flippin' Steve on. And then tomorrow I'm going to be on with Carlos at Because I'm Carlos, his YouTube channel. We're going to be talking a lot about graded video games, specifically some of this old NES stuff. I'm going to talk his ear off about that. And then on Thursday, I'll be on Brad, the Comeback Card Investor show for the longest hour of my life, dealing with him on Thursday night. So action-packed week, guys. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and bring the other guys in if I can operate this thing. I don't usually have three of us on at the same time. Here we go. Can you guys see and hear and everything? Are you there?
What's up, boys?
Yeah.
Right. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's day?
Uneventful. Actually, I take that back. Not uneventful. I sold that blue Vlad refractor, and it was shipping today, and that's a pretty high dollar card for me. So I probably checked tracking about 50 times before it got delivered today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That stuff makes me nervous. Did you ship it USPS or FedEx? Because it was a big
I went UPS 2-day air with insurance.
Oh, okay.
It cost me like $100 to ship it.
Yeah. Well, what's the card? It's a $3,000 or $4,000 card, right?
Yeah, it was like a $3,400 card.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking.
I was stressing out. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, let's say hello to some folks in the chat. Adventures with Troy, how you doing, buddy? Crazy Kev, Alex, Global Sports Card Investor, good to see you, man. Studio Sports from Canada to the USA citizens, hope you're all well. Brian, go Suns. Not Bucks, man. We need to get you kind of, let's talk about that. Sports Card, whatever, good to see you. I messed this name up the other night. Talatiga, good to see you. Bazooka Tom, didn't we meet Bazooka Tom?
Yeah, we met Bazooka Tom. I have pictures. I actually have a photo. I think it's still on my phone.
I think I met him multiple times, actually.
Yeah, it's funny. Steve the other day was like, "Hey, do you have any pictures of me and or us at the National?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let me check." And I sent him like 37 pictures.
Yeah, here it is. It's me. It's actually me, Neo, and Bazooka Tom in the middle.
Yeah.
Bazooka Tom in the house.
Yeah, that was at trade night. That was at Card Collector 2's trade night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Living with LT. Good to see you, buddy. Check out his station as well. Living with LT. She blinded me with refractors. Andy, how you doing? Another great YouTube station. Women of the hobby, good to see you. Thanks for joining. I have less than 1% females in my analytics, so thank you. Thank you for hopefully getting us over 1% on my channel anyway. I can't speak for these guys.
Mine looks like that too. I just assume it's Sam and Hannah, and that's pretty much about it.
It's like my mother-in-law, my wife, it's like 5 women. Oh, and then Armin. Armin was the guy that had the monster soccer. He had the Pele card.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let me check on my dog real quick.
Oh, yeah. No worries, Steve. For those that don't know, Steve has got a dog that's going through some issues right now. So he's going to be on. He's going to be on and off. We'll see how it goes with Steve. But Will, good to see you. Oh, I just had Jeff Eklund. Rob Sunnier, good to see you, man. Toa. Cards to Car, good to see you. Trigger Finger, yes. The new Carson Winston video game is called Interception. Trigger Finger just sent a meme by email that is going to be used in an upcoming promotion. It's really, really funny.
Nice.
What's going on, Dakota? Didn't know this was happening. Yeah, this was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We just threw it together somewhat last second, a few days ago. Peyton Manning or Drew Brees, which better long-term investment? Oh, man, obviously I'm a Drew Brees homer, but Peyton Manning is going to go down, I think, is the better quarterback. As far as cards go, I don't know about cards, but Peyton Manning, I hate to say it, but he's going to go down as a better QB than Drew, even though they've got this. Well, no. Peyton Manning's got 2 rings. Peyton Manning was something else, man. He was something else. What do you think about that, Rob?
I think Peyton Manning probably will hold longer term value better, but they'll both be fine.
Yeah.
I think Peyton Manning's just generally more popular than Breeze. No offense.
I agree. No. I mean, Peyton Manning had the prototypical size and arm and everything else. Breeze is, 5'11". It's funny. Breeze had a big arm in his younger years, and then as time went on, the last 3 years, it was rough. But I mean, he had broken ribs and he had a rotator cuff, and he had all sorts of issues.
You also have 2 markets for Manning too that would want him.
True. Although, too, one thing might be which one has the better broadcasting career. Peyton Manning is doing his thing, and then I guess Breeze is going to be on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or one of these. Maybe
Peyton's king of commercials.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he'll do some things. He owns a lot of Jimmy John's restaurants in New Orleans. All right. Okay. Guys, this is somewhat impromptu, like I said. So throw topics into the chat that you want to cover. We are wide open here tonight. We're just going to kind of BS around and, just spend time with you guys and hang out. And that's pretty much it. So go ahead and throw any sort of topics. I'm going to start it off with upcoming football season and football cards. I'm going to kick this over to you, Neo. It's August, so it's supposed to be football selling time. Historically, I guess, right? Over the last couple of years, that's what we've seen. What are your thoughts on football? What are you seeing? And then for yourself, are you looking to sell football cards? Are you buying football cards? Where are you?
I mean, I offloaded most of my football already. Pretty much the only thing I have is Baker stuff, but I'm not looking to move most of that. I think I have like 1 Dak Prescott still laying around and a couple other things, but right now football seems pretty. It's not going up. It's not going down. It's just stagnant. I really think people don't, myself included, don't know what to do with football. Like last year, as soon as the season started, a lot of it went down. But I think it makes for an interesting. I think we've talked about this a few different times. If it stays flat throughout the month of August, then some stuff's going to spike. If guys play well, their stuff's going to shoot up and probably shoot up fast. Because the problem last year was guys got massive increases before the season started, and their play didn't back up what was baked into them already. So if nothing's baked into them already, if Kyler Murray comes out and has 2 awesome games right from the get, I expect his prices to go up fast, or whoever it ends up being.
Now, for you in particular, I know that you're somewhat of a homer on Baker Mayfield, obviously being a Browns fan, and my in-laws are big Browns fans too. That's my AFC team. So I do have some Baker stuff, and I'm kind of the opinion. I mean, I've bought and sold Baker over the last few years, but a lot of the stuff I've got, I'm perfectly fine holding on to it for a while. I really like him over kind of the longer term. I think he's going to have a good overall career. I don't know if I'm going to hold his stuff until he retires, but what are your thoughts on Baker? Do you have some that you're okay to move? Do you have some where you're like, nah, I'm going to sit on this for 10 years or something, through his career? Have you thought about that? Or are you kind of just, going with the flow?
No, I've definitely thought about that. So I have some just base Baker, base select, a base prism, base optic, that stuff. I would look to move. I have 2 big card shows this weekend. I would be perfectly fine trading those away. But I even have a lower end RPA, the one that I traded for at the Lowe's trade night. I would probably move that since I got the flawless, the nice one off of Steve. And then I have some low pop stuff, a select field level base, which is pop 20. I wouldn't move that. An optic hollow, which is pretty low pop. I got a Spectra, which is pop 2. That stuff I'll hold on to, but I wouldn't hesitate to move in and out of his base stuff because I know I could always get that back.
Yeah, that's a good point. And especially with pop on football being so much lower than baseball and basketball stuff. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And Baker's always in demand. If I go to a show or a trade night around here, 90% of the room is do you have Baker?
Yeah, especially where you are. Exactly. He's the man in Ohio. Until that changes, yeah, he's a hot commodity. This is a good question for you guys because I don't use Star Stock a ton. Why is it nearly impossible to sell auto cards on Star Stock? Have you guys seen this at all or tried this? It happens less frequently than a football game where Wentz plays QB for 4 full quarters and doesn't throw any picks. I feel like Triggerfinger is trying to trigger Dakota, Sports Card Anonymous, tonight with the Carson Wentz stuff. You guys have any thoughts on autos on Star Stock? Have you tried to sell any?
I have not had any autos on Star Stock. Star Stock seems really to be driven by base and like silvers.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's because Star Stock is more of a platform where you're going to try to move your base cards. There might be a few parallels on there, but it's not a high end platform where you're going to buy and flip RPAs or autos or much things like that. It's more or less, like Neo said, a lot of base stuff that's cheap to sell and easy to double up on a flip. If you buy a card for $10, it's not hard to double up for 20. So it's more of a high pop, high liquid type cards, as opposed to a particular auto that a collector might necessarily be looking for. I don't think Star Stock is much of a collector or high end investor type platform.
You can't get good deals there on some of that stuff though, because people don't know how to. Some of the lower pop stuff doesn't get priced correctly, and if you're paying attention, you could snap some stuff up on there pretty good. Like I got that Trey Premium Scope for like dirt cheap on there, like $400 under comps. I got like that Eloy Purple on there, like way under comps. And I only look at PSA cards on there now. I don't really buy a whole lot of Star Stock days anymore.
That's the other thing. At least I know for a time being, when it comes to graded cards on there, even graded cards didn't move like the raw cards. They get that soft grade on them. So people like to buy their raw cards off Star Stock because they get a sense of security on what they're buying. When something's graded a Star Stock A, as opposed to buying your raw cards off of eBay. So it tends to be a really good platform to move your raw items. All the graded cards move on there, but like Neo said, sometimes they fly under the radar on there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, I've seen interviews where I think it's Scott, the guy that runs Star Stock, and I've heard him say, and this was 9 months ago, where he was like, we're perfectly fine like working in our lane, whether it be like rookie cards or whatever, like not necessarily be all encompassing. But I feel like they've kind of broadened their offerings over time. Do you see them as kind of being more like a ComC over time, where it's more all encompassing and they've got, more than just rookie cards? Or I know they added some vintage stuff and all that. Do you think that that's going to kind of, they'll expound on it, or do you think they'll just kind of sit in their lane and offer, certain things?
I think they're going to stay in their lane. I don't think they want to get too crazy because I don't think they want to manage all that inventory. And I really like them for graded cards. I wish it would catch on a little bit more. Their shipping home on graded cards is lightning fast. Like I've requested stuff on a Thursday or Friday to be shipped home, and I'll have it on Monday or Tuesday. Like it is quick to ship slabs home, which is nice. Because if you get good deals on there, you could pull it off for like $5 and have it home in 3 or 4 days to take to a show or whatever. And then if you wanted to, I've never sent anything back in to be re-uploaded, but getting slabs off there that fast is a really nice feature.
Andy Newton, this is, I think a lot of people share this same statement. I think I have no idea what to do with the market. Everything makes me nervous. In some ways, I totally get this. We are in uncharted territory with this market. I mean, we've seen kind of, a lot of cards kind of correct or, move downward. Yes, you have a lot of high-end things that are still moving up, et cetera, but it is kind of a Wild West type market right now. And that's why we were just talking about, now it's kind of football selling season, so to speak, at least compared to last year, the year before. And it'll be interesting to kind of see over the next 30 days what it all looks like.
I know personally, I've spent more in the last 30 days than I probably ever have on cards in my life. That's not even including the National. Like the National was a big part of that. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, I've been going, and I know Steve's been talking about it too. But here's a card I just got today: Hall of Famers, with that are autoed, and ideally with a 10 grade, like this Namath on card auto in a BGS holder, $275. So they're not giving them away necessarily. It's numbered to 5 also, so numbered, all-time great, on-card auto, graded with a 10 auto for under $300. I thought that was pretty decent value. But again, it's like, where's the safety? We've talked about it so many times. Nothing is safe. Nothing. We don't know what's going to happen. But I've been focusing and kind of researching on that stuff. I know Steve has also been doing the same thing with some other guys as well.
I mean, as far as giving yourself peace of mind when it comes to safety, just buy what you think is at its basement. I mean, you never know when the basement exists, but if you buy something, when it's really, really low, at least go into the terms of, okay, if it drops any lower, I'm not going to lose a whole lot, or at worst, or I'm just going to break even. Don't go into every investment saying, oh man, I hope this card 4 or 5Xs, because then you're going to set yourself up to be let down. If you just go into it saying, worst case scenario, I break even, or worst case scenario, I lose $50, and then don't set your bar too high. Say, if I get a 50% return on this card, if I buy it for 100 and I can sell it for 150, take that and be happy, as opposed to thinking everything's going to 4 or 5X, because then you're going to overpay. You're going to be let down when your card doesn't reach your end game profit margin. And you're going to be scared, and you're going to be nervous, and then you're going to miss opportunity. And like Neo said, I've been doing quite a bit of buying. I've been doing a lot more shopping than buying. Stuff's been being bought out from under me because, again, I'm not going to overpay. And so things have been being bought out from under me. But that's also the sign of a strong market. I'm losing auctions at high dollars on a lot of cards just because I don't want to push that extra $100 for the sake of I'm trying to limit my entry point. Or, it was Kevin Durant last week. Now I got to move on to a different player. It's been Jason Tatum one week. Now I got to kind of move on to a different player because their stuff is being bought up. And a lot of times you don't buy in on something because you're like, man, I just want it to get lower. And sometimes it's at its lowest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
too. It's like, so for like a card like this, let's say it goes down, these are now $100. I would be buying more at $100. It's kind of that, the dollar cost averaging or whatever. If these drop below where they are now, I would just buy more of them. That would be kind of my thought behind it.
The thing about stuff like that, though, is like those retired legends like that. I think you mentioned it on the video that you did when you were talking about it. I think the floor is so high on that stuff. Like, it's only going to go down so low. You know what I mean? Like, those guys can't do anything to completely destroy their value. It's not like they're going to go out there and have a bad game or sign with the wrong team or do something stupid that's going to cost them their career or a season or whatever. So you have a high build-in floor on stuff like that. But I also think you have a low ceiling, if that makes sense, for the short term anyway. Like, you're not buying that Namath to flip it in a month because he's going to have a good game, obviously. Like, that's a long-term play, which is fine, but that going in.
Exactly. Oh, Brad is here. I'm surprised that he's out of bed at 9 p.m. Eastern. Just glad that you're, doing something there, Brad. Thanks for joining us, friend.
I do think if you're looking to get in, I do think this is the best time to be buying NBA stuff. I really do. You could pick the player and see where they're at. We've missed the window on some guys. Steve talked about KD. His stuff shot up. We've missed the window on Luka, probably. His stuff shot up. I think the Trae Young window is rapidly closing. I've actually probably spent more on Trae in the last week and a half than any other player, but there's still plenty of other opportunities out there for basketball specifically. Now, the question is what happens? Does it go back down again? We're still 2.5, 3 months away from the season starting, so it could cool back off again, and maybe there's another window to buy. Who knows?
Right. So this is Market Movers has more cards in their database. I like both tools for different reasons, but Market Movers is the one. If you're just asking about which one has the bigger amount of cards, it's Market Movers.
Yeah, they have a ton.
All right. I think it's an interesting time because it's, basket. I feel like for me personally, I feel like I should be buying more basketball. Steve had some interesting buys while we were at the show. That I thought were really smart, but now it's kind of like, and I think you were talking about this too, Rob, how like the window, is the window for basketball off season already closing? You already see some of these prices starting to move back up to where, is it already kind of like moving back up because, we're getting closer to that season? I mean, what season starts Halloween roughly? End of October?
I forget the exact start date, but it's mid to late October.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2.5 months away, which will be here before we know it. So,
and you got to remember, for the non-playoff teams, like some of these guys have been in the off season now, like air quotes, for a while. The NBA playoffs is not a short thing. Like, that goes on for months, literally. So, if you're looking at non-playoff guys, they've been off the radar since mid-May now. So you're talking almost 3-4 months already. Playoff guy's a little different, but
yeah, Trae Young is such an interesting, because I feel like he never gets that love. And I don't know if it's just like the Luka, like Luka sets the bar and then he's always going to be below that, but I don't know what, I don't know if that's set in stone, but it just always seems to be, I feel like for 2 years, we've been saying that his stuff has just been kind of lagging behind. And even with the Hawks making moves in the, in the playoffs and him kind of showing that team leadership, I don't know. He's an interesting one for sure.
He took a jump. I mean, I don't know how you feel, Steve. To me, he took a jump this playoffs in my mind. Like the way he played and carried them, especially through the 76ers series. And that team was missing their second best player in DeAndre Hunter, and they still gave the Bucks a series. Now the East is going to be tough, but in my mind, Trey went from like NBA All-Star every year to like the next level above that. He's not on Luka level yet, KD, LeBron level, but just the way he played in the playoffs last year really kind of like elevated him in the way that I think about him as a player.
I think it's the next wave of players, the next tier of players, because we're talking about guys that we like, Luka, Trey, Tatum, the young guys that kind of set the bar for the modern day market. But I think it's that second wave of guys that are underneath of them that are still your value finds. De'Aaron Fox was one of my guys, and I was never high on him back when he was popular and Gary Vee was talking about him and stuff. But he's still super young and he's exciting, and he's a good player. You can buy his stuff cheap. Worst case scenario is he's a really good player and maybe someday he gets moved, and he has enough popularity. I mean, I showed you guys, like, I'm even getting pushed off of his stuff now. I had bought this at the show for $190, and the last eBay sale went for $325. So it's like I could go ahead and move this now, and be close to 100% profit. But and the other stars where we're talking about Giannis and that group of the 2012 to 2015 movement. Anthony Davis is still completely lost in the shuffle, but he's still on the Lakers, and he's going to be healthy. And Russell Westbrook goes to that team, and Russell Westbrook cards go up and LeBron cards go up, and Anthony Davis is still the forgotten about player, and he's probably the best player. He's probably the player that any of their hopes of winning another title hinges around the most. And I grabbed this. This was a $700 pickup. It's a PSA 9 Prism Auto. You couldn't touch the base of this in a PSA 9 this time last year for $700. So to be able to find now the Prism Auto for the same price that you were going to get a PSA 9 for this time last year, there's just bargains out there to be found, players being overlooked that I think, worst case scenario, Anthony Davis doesn't win a title, but he still is a top 5 player and pushes for an MVP award. I mean, what's the basement on a card like this? When you see De'Aaron Fox optic hollows at $190, what's the basement on a card like that? Especially when Tatum is pushing $800 on his, and it's from the same set in the same year. And you look at Patrick Mahomes on the football side of it, from the same set in the same year, and his optic hollows are pushing $5K, and Jason Tatum's are pushing $800. I know it's a different sport, and Mahomes is probably bigger in his sport right now than Tatum is in the NBA, but the NBA as a whole is a bigger market. So I put all those factors into something, and I'm like, do I think this purchase makes sense? And the Siakam card, I told the whole story about that last night. The Siakam that I picked up, I owned that card last year. I bought it raw for $25. I graded it on site at the Philly show when I got it. Actually, not last year because that show was canceled, but back pre-COVID. And it came back at BGS 9.5, and I sold it for $700 on eBay. I just rebought that card in a PSA 10 for $200. So I'm like, at this point, I've made my money off of that card to the point to where even if I gamble on that card again and lose, I still have a big profit margin on that card to where I had $50 invested in the previous one and sold it for $700. So I already have a $650 profit margin to play with on that specific card.
Yeah, nice. Any of you guys going to the Dallas card show at the end of the month? I can say for myself, I'm not going to be going, but I was actually just texting with Michael Ham earlier. Michael Ham, Fishing and Sports Card Hobbyist, I believe is the full name of his channel. Check him out. But he's down there in Tampa, and we're thinking about joining up there at the end of August for the showdown in Tampa. I've got family down there. I was talking to these guys about it too. If they're maybe want to go, I know it's kind of short notice, but do you guys have any? I know Rob, you had said you've got some stuff coming up locally this weekend. Any big show plans coming up for you guys?
We have two pretty good sized ones in Ohio this weekend. There's a show in Xenia, Ohio, which is about an hour southwest of Columbus, but it's like 175 tables. I've never gone to it because it's about a 3-hour drive for me, but I have to pick up a PSA submission from Card Collector 2, which is in Columbus. So I think I'm just going to kind of wrap that all in the one trip and hit the Xenia show and then hit Card Collector 2 to pick up the sub. And then I have a breaker that's a pretty big IG breaker that's local. They're putting on a show in Canton, Ohio on Sunday, so I'm going to that. My next travel show that I want to go to, I think, is the Causeway show in Boston. They have not announced dates for that yet, but that is very high on my radar. More so because it just looks like a fun show. And my wife and I both love New England, so I could easily like turn that into more than just a card show trip. Get two for the price of one.
I hope it's like the weekend of October 3rd, because I think that my wife and I are going to run up there. My uncle lives in Boston, and we were going to go up there with some other family that first weekend in October. It'd be kind of amazing if it lined up perfectly like that. But
the last I heard was October, November, but I haven't heard they've not put a firm date on that yet. But that'll probably be my next. That's the next travel show that's on my radar. I wouldn't mind the. I don't think it's till January, though, the Atlanta show, whenever they run that one back.
Question for you guys and for the chat. So we've been talking about kind of the new age NBA prospects that are already in the league. Obviously, you have Giannis that just won a title. You had Booker that was in the championship. You got Tatum and De'Aaron Fox and all these guys. You have this last draft class with LaMelo, who looked promising. And then are there any guys out of this recent draft? We got, Cade Cunningham. And I can't remember the name of the other guy that's also really – is it Jalen Green?
Jalen Green's really good. Evan Mobley's good. There's Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I mean,
this class is pretty loaded.
Another round of talent coming into the NBA, which I think is, for me, that's kind of the exciting piece. I'm just ready for kind of the old guard to head on out into the sunset and see what a lot of these new guys have. Nothing against Durant, LeBron, all these guys, but it's like they've had their time. They've had their moments. And I'm ready for this next wave. And also it just makes it more fun too when you're buying, selling basketball cards. It's like you have all these new prospects and you have a league that's going to be shaped by these guys. Are there any of these new these new draftees, these new guys that you're excited about in particular, or just wait and see mode?
I'm not real big on this past year's class. Like the LaMelo class, to me, there's not. Anthony Edwards showed some flashes in the second half of last season, but I don't know that he is. To me, he just reminds me of like a scorer only. I don't view him as like a NBA playoff player, if that makes sense. But I think he's very talented. This upcoming class, I think Jalen Green's going to be legit really good. I watched the Summer League game on Sunday because they played the Cavs, and he looked the part of, an NBA superstar in summer. It was Summer League, so who knows? But Cade Cunningham, I don't know, will have like huge card hype. He's a really good player, but his style is more like team-oriented, whereas Jalen Green's more like, I'm going to take the game over and score 30. We might lose, but I'm going to drop 40 on you.
Okay.
And I'm intrigued by Mobley, but that's probably Cavs bias.
How about you, Steve? I think you're on mute, buddy.
Okay. Sorry. To be honest, my dog started making noise, so I had to mute again. But I don't mess much with new players. I like to see them in the NBA for a little bit before I get into them. I don't follow college basketball. So
yeah,
I might get into a March Madness bracket or something, but even then I'm just throwing darts. I just don't follow it. So I'm not going to pretend that I know this draft class. I know the names. I know, Cade Cunningham was drafted by the Pistons, but I know nothing else about him other than his name. I don't even know where he played. So I'm not just going to say, I'm not going to make up something for the sake of trying to make myself sound like I know.
Yeah, please don't do that, Steve.
I have not bought a single card from this past draft class. I don't own a single 2020, 2021 card.
I haven't either. It's not my style. New product really either, unless I happen to be at a Walmart where something is on the shelf, but it just never happens, and it's probably not ever going to happen. So what do you guys think?
The interesting play for this upcoming class could be just to buy sealed wax.
Yeah. I've been looking at, so interestingly enough, we were talking about kind of like the 2016, some of the 17 players. I've been looking at sealed wax of like Optic basketball, like 2016, 2017, because it's fairly inexpensive, especially
That
compared
class
to like
sucks. That's why.
but like you've got Tatum's and you've got some guys in there. You don't have any
specifically 16 is weak. 17 is good. 16 is really bad.
Yeah, I guess you've got Jamal Murray, but he would have
and Ben Simmons. It's a bad class.
17 is okay.
17 is legit because you have Tatum and Mitchell.
Yeah, Tatum, Mitchell, and then is De'Aaron Fox 17?
Fox.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball, if you like him.
What's that?
Lonzo Ball, if you like him.
Yeah.
The stuff's spiked.
Yeah, no, I mean, who knows? Who knows what these guys will look like in a few years? What about CSG, guys? I don't own 1,000 CSG slabs, but I like CSG slabs, and I made it known. I mean, if it's a card that I like, it's more of like if the card is good, if it's an important card, and it just so happens to be in a CSG slab, and I can get a discount off of what it would be in a PSA slab, then I take a hard look at those. What do you guys think on CSG?
For me, I like the slab. I think it has a really nice slab. If you get by the label, but I think getting by the label, you could say that about any company. Even a custom label, sometimes they're just too over the top to where they're tacky. But the slab is really nice. I think it's durable. I think it's really clear. There's some of the most clear slabs that I've seen. I held one at the show. I went up to the booth because I hadn't had any experience with them. I don't own any. So I wanted to actually, be able to get a hands-on and be like, okay, this is what the slab feels like, looks like. As far as buying any, I haven't found any cards at the right price to where I want to invest in one of those slabs. Now, with that being said, I would buy their stuff if I thought it was a bargain. The one card that I really liked at the National that was in a CSG slab, they were comping at about 85% of what the PSA was selling for. I did not want to pay that for that card. Now, could I have bought that at 85% of the PSA comp and been like, okay, long term, I believe in CSG as maybe being the industry leader? I don't have that kind of confidence in them at the moment to do that. If I was buying that card at about a 60% PSA comp, then I would have bought that and I would have walked away feeling comfortable, being like, okay, I got a bargain on this card. It's a nice card. It's in a nice slab, and we'll see what the future holds for this company. But right now, I couldn't warrant coming out of my pocket for 85% PSA comps. I would just rather pay the extra 15% at the moment and get that same card in a PSA slab.
Yeah, I got my first one the other day. I did a video on it. The Baker Immaculate RPA. This was just strictly buy the card. You know what I mean? It was an 8.5, so I treated it as raw, and I got it for what I thought was a good price. I agree with what you said, Dustin. The slab in hand, in my opinion, is the best slab on the market. It's the worst label on the market. Yeah. And my other big concern with them is they've only been open for what, 7 months? When did they start taking submissions? Like January, February? Yeah, and they already have an absolutely massive backlog.
I feel like it took forever for them too. I remember the announcement was like a year and a half ago. Remember? And then it was like, when are they going to start taking some? I felt like that was forever. But yeah, I think it was January when they started it up.
So my concern is, and I said this back when they first opened up, is that they're going to be how everyone treated SGC last year. So SGC came on, everyone sent stuff to them. And then they immediately had the massive backlog, and they had to get that monkey off their back. And I think it really hurt them that 8 months or whatever it was that they dealt with that. And CSG is absolutely in the same place. Their bulk goes out like 150, 170 days or something. So they have that problem going for them, and they have the label problem going for them. I know it sounds stupid. Everyone says buy the card, not the grade, but no one actually does it. Or at least most people don't actually do it. So the label's definitely a problem. That backlog's a problem. But if you go from what I've been saying, the neck down, it's the best slab, and it's not even close. It's the clearest. It feels the best in hand. And I've heard they are near impossible to crack. Like people talk about, like buying the crack 'em to send the PSA. I've heard that if you're doing that with CSG slabs, be careful because they are no joke. to bust open.
Speaking of hard cases to crack, have you guys seen the WATA graded game slab? We'll call it a slab, but it's an absolute it's like armor. It's pretty amazing.
The first time I saw one in person was at the National, actually, because there was some on a couple tables.
These things are, pretty cool for display, but yeah, it's interesting. This is a serious case.
All right, so this is out of the ballpark question.
Steve, stay before you go ahead. But before, I'm going to give a shameless plug to my other channel, Retro Game Dad. Guys, check it out. Graded video games, second channel. All right, Steve, go ahead.
All right, so you held pro wrestling up there. I used to love that game. So, who's your favorite pro wrestling character on there? Who did you like to play the most?
Oh, it was the guy that had like the yellow. It was like a full yellow like mask.
The guy with the mask,
like a suit. He was wearing kind of like
it was all pink. Starman,
or maybe it was the pink one.
Starman.
Yes, Starman.
He wore the pink suit and the blue star on his face.
Yeah,
I liked him, and I liked the Amazon guy, the guy that would choke you and bite you.
I've also got the tag team one. I picked up the tag team wrestling.
Oh,
that was actually the first wrestling game on NES. I've got that one over here too.
That was one where you had to grapple, then had to cycle through your moves and then pick a move.
Yeah, it's like a text bar comes up.
Yeah,
yeah.
That one was fun. Back to we were talking about cases and labels and stuff. I'll tell you something that's really growing on me. Is the SGC label for autograph cards. Like, we talk about how small the font is on SGC because the font is small, and then they bang a big 10 or a big 9.5 up there, and it kind of looks, and then you got a big gap on the label of just white label. But I've been looking at auto cards like we've been shopping, like we've been talking about, and I've been seeing some SGC, and I like seeing that, okay, the card is a 10, and the auto is a 10, and you got a big 10-10, boom, right next to each other. The Beckett is cool when you got a 9-5-10, but everybody knows how we feel about 9, or not everybody, but we know how the market feels about a 9-5 in comparison to the 10. They like to see that 10. So even when you see that SGC up there with the 10-10, I like that. And sometimes Beckett will put the grade on the back. Which was the unfortunate thing about the Flawless that I sold to Neo. It would, I like it on the front.
It's like the bird where it's like
that's my card. What are you doing with my card, by the way?
Yeah. I stole half of Steve's cards.
CSG puts theirs on the back too.
They do.
I was like, BGS didn't grade the
So does HGA. HGA puts them on the back too.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys get the memo? We all hate SGC.
I'm putting together an SGC order, and I think I'm sending my Larry Bird Flawless. There. That's going there because I want to see if I can get a 10-10 on that. Worst case scenario is I can crack them back out, and I want to put the Tony Hawk in a black slab. I think that will look. Hopefully, the black don't offset each other and make it look dingy. But
I have a question. Did the Russell Wilson trade happen? Or are we doing that live right now?
You know what? That was,
Russell Wilson is still on the Seahawks. He has not been traded. Oh, you mean the card?
I've been going back and forth with Steve.
Yeah, the card.
The card.
It's like a thing now.
Oh, this thing. Oh, speaking of auto grades, that's 9-5-10 right there.
Oh, that's I know all about it. I've been trying to acquire the card for 2 months.
Figured I just randomly pulled the Russell Wilson out by accident.
Yeah, I know all about it, man.
You got to go with my approach and just literally throw an envelope of money at him and just tell him to take out whatever he wants.
Did I mention this is a True Gem Plus?
I know. I'm like, he wants
on an acetate card. Even you know how hard that is.
You know what though? Actually, as just a comparison, I'm like, what are Wilson autos looking like? And I went on and there was a real nice Prism auto for like $1,000, Steve. That's just sitting right there on eBay right now. So I'm like, maybe I could use that as leverage. Like, Steve, I could get yours, or I could just get this like 2012 Prism auto.
Was that Prism a sticker auto? Because this is on acetate. On acetate auto. That's better than on card.
A year from now, you'll still be dangling that thing.
I'm just kidding.
Steve doesn't like dealing with us when we know what he paid for a card.
I got a solid offer on a Teddy Bridgewater card tonight.
Really? 2 gloves?
Yeah. I bought some Teddy Bridgewaters dirt cheap. I actually got to pull this card because I think I'm going to accept the offer. I got a solid offer on it.
I would, regardless of what the offer is.
Yeah, but this card is nice. If you can put Teddy Bridgewater and nice card in the same sentence, then this is the one card that you could do it for. This is
Look, he's slinging deals on Teddy Bridgewater, but he won't move.
2014 Topps Chrome Pulsar Refractor.
I'm trying to get the Russell Wilson, and now he's trying to sell me Teddy Bridgewater.
See, look at it, because you could pass this off to a Teddy Bridgewater collector. He doesn't have to be good. Teddy Bridgewater's mom would buy this card.
Steve is running his own live auction on in the chat right now.
Let me see what I got laying around. What do I got laying around here?
But I picked that up for $40, and I got a $110 offer on it tonight. So
yeah, why haven't you already hit accept?
Because he's waiting for someone else to.
Because I got to counter first.
Yeah.
We got to play the dance, you know. Because I had it listed at 150. So they say 110, and then I say 120. Then maybe we strike a deal. I gotta.
Go ahead.
I gotta counter so I can net after those eBay fees. If it was on my slabs, I would have taken it. To be honest,
you know what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
The first thing you always do when you get an eBay offer, you search the username on IG.
I told him, I said, hit me on IG. Maybe we can go at this price.
You don't put that in the messages. That's asking for trouble.
No, I didn't say that. I just put IG. That's it.
Oh.
But yeah, if it was on my slabs, I would have taken it already. I just, by the time eBay takes out their, $15, I'm not even netting $100 on it.
If your eBay name does not match your IG handle, then you're just doing life wrong.
Man, at my eBay, I started my eBay before Instagram existed.
You can change it.
No, I can't change it.
No, you actually can change it. They let you change it.
But I can't change it. Then I'll forget, and I'll be like, man, how do I log into eBay?
It's called save your passwords.
Too complicated.
You know how many deals I get on the side? How many DMs I get on that? I've cut so many deals off eBay by having my IG and eBay name is the same thing.
Steve,
people will legit message you. They'll be like, "Oh, hey, I see you have this card up for sale. You want to do a deal off eBay?"
All right, the real Brett K says white bordered cards look great in SGC slabs. I'm assuming that the Tux, absolutely. I really like the SGC slabs. I know some people are like, they're too bland. I really like the white and black slabs. I dig them. All right. Bazooka Tom is talking about Drew Lock over at kind of the Teddy Bridgewater Drew Lock thing. It'll be kind of interesting to watch. Like, who's going to play quarterback in Denver this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's up in the air.
You don't get to answer, Steve. You've hurt my feelings with the Russell
Okay.
Wilson. We're skipping.
Okay.
Trigger finger. Which is crazier, breaking or starting a new grading company? Both seem like bad decisions.
Can I take C, all of the above?
It's just hard. I think all of that would be hard all the way around. And think about on the breaking side too. I mean, think about the competition now with what is it? Cards and Coffee with DJ Ski, Whatnot. Isn't Whatnot doing breaks? Isn't, I can't imagine being a mom and pop breaking company trying to get in. And then grading companies, of course, that's going to be tough just with, you've just to gain trust and name recognition, all that.
The biggest problem is as a breaker, where do you get the product? And then on the grading company side, you're so outgunned. Like there's a niche for everything, like HGA and some of the other ones have the whole like custom label thing kind of like on lockdown now. And I'm sure there's different angles that I'm just not smart enough to think of. I know Pittsburgh is doing the transparent grading thing where I think you get like grader's notes basically to know exactly what was wrong with your card. So that's like an interesting take on it. But like if that really takes off, like any company could just steal that idea from them. It's not like it's, you know what I mean? It's a cool idea, but if it actually really works, like there's like, anyone could just add that on. Yeah,
you got to quickly patent it or something.
Yeah, I feel like
cards and comics. Go ahead, Steve.
Like breaking's just a lot of work. Like even Dustin, you remember when I used to do the small breaking on the Facebook just for fun. I wasn't even trying to make money off of it. And it was like, if I had like 10 people in the break sorting and packaging and stuff as being a one-man operation, even on those small breaks, it's a lot of work. Like you would have to have a full operation of people on your payroll and everything to really have a big breaking business. And, that's not even talking about the product side of it. And then as far as the grading companies go, I think it's tough because you have established grading companies like SGC that we talk about that are still struggling to gain traction, as far as value in the marketplace. So for someone to just have a startup grading company, I mean, look how long GMA has been around and they have zero respect in the hobby. Some people, you might have some GMA truthers out there just because they like to send their cards off cheap and get them in a slab just to have them in a slab maybe. But I don't know. both of them seem like it would be super hard, super tough to really do.
Start a YouTube channel instead.
Yeah. I mean, that would be something. I think for breaking, actually, Steve, I don't do breaks except for the one I've done with you those couple of times. But I feel like that's like the fun way to do breaks, is to do it with your friends. Like, hey, we got these packs. We're going to buy this box, whatever. And then we all throw in money and we do a break like that. I can't imagine like running a business like that. But if it's your buddies or something, you're going to just, throw some money at some maybe retail product that's been priced up a little bit or whatever. I think that would be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's a few people on a hobby box, I don't know, that would be fun. But among friends, because that's like it's almost like your fantasy football draft, where it's like every year and it's 3 hours long and you're with your buddies and you're talking smack and you're drafting your players. That's kind of like what that break was for me when we did it, like me, you, and there's 10 of us, and it was more of just having fun and hanging out. It wasn't a big deal, like if we got hits or not. I think that's that made it a lot of fun. I can't imagine it being like a National Treasures box where we've all got $1,000 on it. Maybe if we were all like big, high rollers. I can't speak for you guys, but for me, I'm not doing National Treasures boxes with my buddies. But I mean, that if it was among friends, I think that'd be fun. But outside of that, it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like ripping wax to begin with, so.
Yeah. The wax I rip is like the junk wax era, the 1990 whatever packs, or if it's like $1 a pack, I like that stuff.
I rip Marvel. That's it. Marvel stuff.
Yeah, Marvel stuff. All right, let's get back to the chat here and see if we've got anything magical. Trigger finger. Should you break up vintage sets from the 70s or 80s for the singles, or keep them together as sets for selling purposes? I guess this is like, are you selling it raw, or are you going to try to grade it and sell it? Because I think those are probably two different, strategies.
I have no skin in that game, but I would probably just hold it as a set, unless the card is like absolutely insane.
I would say, so he says for selling purposes. So if you're going to sell and you're just selling the set as is, I would sell the entire set, because what's going to happen is
team set.
People are going to pick through and take out the cards that they like, and then you're going to be stuck with a bunch of just cards that are just there taking up space. For me, preferably, I would rather just sell off the whole set as a commodity, instead of letting someone pick through, the cards that they just want and leave me with a bunch of stuff that they don't feel like dealing with. That happened when I sold my comic books a couple weeks ago. I didn't sell them all. I kept some of my favorites, but I had some comic books that were bad comics. They were just like throw-ins from deals that I had made. So when I sold them, the guy was picking through the stuff that he wanted. And I was like, no, just give me one price on just give me one price on the entire box, because I'm not going to have you take out all my Spider-Mans and all my, that's the little dog. Somebody's outside honking the horn, so she's getting hype. But and she's like this big, and she thinks she's this big. But anyway, oh my God, hold on, I'm gonna mute.
It's all right, Steve. Steve being taken over by dogs in his house. This is kind of what I was talking about that Dwayne is saying here, where it's just a bunch of guys and gals that split a jumbo hobby box 2019 Bowman Chrome, and you're just kind of like having fun with your friends. It's not breaking the bank because there's a handful of you doing it. Like, that to me is fun. I really like that.
So quick story, that little dog is so like feisty and vicious. I have a mail slot in my door, like an old school mail slot. The mailman opens it up and slides packages through. So I was prospecting on some quarterbacks back in the day, like when you were talking about Ryan Finley and stuff like that. I had bought, this was pre-Justin Herbert, but I had bought a couple Easton Stick cards. And he was a guy that was drafted to be a backup quarterback to Phillip Rivers. Anyway, glad it was Easton Stick. But anyway, the mailman puts a package through the slot, and the dog just comes running and just dives through the air like it's a Frisbee and snatches it and goes complete shark mode on it and destroyed the card on the inside of the package.
Guys, we are up to 215 or so watching. That's awesome. And I run my lives ad free as well, as an added benefit for you all. If you don't have YouTube Premium or whatever, I have YouTube Premium just because I watch so much damn YouTube. But if you don't, no ads. So invite all your friends, invite everybody, all the fake accounts, get them watching so we can get the numbers up. I love it. All right. Did you guys see any 80s Star Company basketball at the National, Ryan? I saw some of it, but I'll be honest, I didn't see a lot of it. Now, I wasn't necessarily looking for it. I don't know about you guys. Did you see? I mean, I saw some here and there, but I did not see lots of Star basketball.
I didn't, but I wasn't looking, so I very well could have walked past it and just it's information overload when you're walking up and down those aisles. So
yeah, I didn't see many, players just randomly laying out in showcases anything. I saw someone showing off a couple of the Jordans, and I don't even think they were in a showcase. I think it was somebody at a table showing their Jordans to the dealer, and they were like graded like by BGS. They were graded like 6s or something like that.
I think BGS and HGA are the only companies that grade those. I don't even know. I don't think BGS still does.
Yeah, PSA stopped grading them because there was too many counterfeits, and at one point it came too hard to tell the difference. They just didn't want to deal with the headache of trying to figure out if it was a counterfeit or not. You can find old PSA. You can find some of them old ones graded by PSA, and they're actually pretty valuable. I think the dude who bought the high dollar mantle at a record, the Rob, what's his name? Rob G. I think I saw a video of him talking about some of his other high-end cards, and he had some of the old Jordan Stars graded by PSA in really high grades. And what made them valuable was not just the grade on the card, but the fact that they're so hard to find in a PSA slab.
Yeah, I'm so paranoid. I love how some of those Star cards look, but again, like it's kind of like what Cards and Comics is talking about here. They reprinted a lot of sets. There's a bunch of fakes. I know that there's certain cards that made it into slabs that were reprints or fakes. It just happens. There's a certain percentage, and they're not cheap. Those Star cards are, and I would want a Jordan or a Bird or something cool, and they're not inexpensive. So I don't know if I would dump a lot of money into it. Would just in the back of my mind, like, is this the real deal? Because there's some great, replicas, fakes out there that have slipped by. So I think for me, I'm just too paranoid. I love those cards, though. I love a lot of them.
Another set that's really popular, you got to be kind of scared, or not scared, but weary of. It's because the set has grown in popularity. But the 1982 Wrestling All-Star set, and I only bring that up because wrestling cards seem to be pretty popular at the National as far as seeing a lot of them for sale, people talking about them. I mean, not on the levels of soccer or anything yet, but I mean, if you were looking for something that wasn't a mainstream, highly collected sport, I mean, wrestling was getting some buzz. Even more so, I felt like more people were asking for wrestling cards than I saw ask for UFC. Again, that's my observation. People might say you're crazy. UFC was the hottest sport there, and of course, then that's their perspective. But lots of, and even at the gentleman's table, was it Rye Guy where you bought the Larry Bird Shadow Box auto? He had a ton of SGC graded.
I loved
wrestling cards.
I want to go back to his. Yeah, this is the Bird Shadow Box. It's just different. It's a very unique looking card. It's thick. It's a brick. I mean, but it's just cool looking. It's just different.
I saw another one of those. It might have been an eBay listing. I think it was an eBay listing the other night for $199, and he was in his Sycamore uniform, but it looked like a different photo. It looked like he was on the other side of the card. Okay. I almost bought it, but he had a ton of SGC graded wrestling, and I believe he sold a lot of SGC cards. Like he was on another live stream one night, and I think that they misquoted me as saying that he said something, but he wasn't even the dealer that I was talking about that made a statement about SGC cards.
I loved his stuff. I mean, Rye Guy was one that I actually took a picture of, like all of his information, so I could go back to him directly, like for.
Oh yeah, we were there for a while. We chatted with him and talked to him and things like that. Because that Larry Bird negotiation went back and forth for a while, and I was looking at a lot of his stuff and a lot of his SGC stuff. So,
and they're in Massachusetts, so they have a lot of that Celtic stuff. He was a Bostoner. What was I going to say? Shoot, I had something. Oh, you know what? I'm hot take here because I'm just going to put this out into the universe. I don't get F1 cards, and what I mean by that is I don't get all the hoopla around it. I can kind of understand UFC a little bit, but F1, I just don't. I don't get it. I feel like the masses don't care about F1, and I think it's a fad. And I know that, look, there's going to be collectors out there that are going to say, you're nuts. I love F1. I watch it. I just don't. I don't know. And I understand it's kind of like it's a new new card set coming out for it, or is it the first Prism or first Topps Chrome or whatever that just came out? But I just can't imagine dropping massive bucks on F1. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it? I'm just going to throw that out there that I think it's a fad. I'm throwing it out there, but not a knock against those that actually love it, collect it, all that. Nothing against you. Just for me in particular, I feel like it's just going to it's going to pass, or this stuff is going to be less expensive in a year or 2 years or whatever. It's just my take.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me. I don't know that it needs the masses to like it because the print run's so small. Because I don't think Topps printed a ton of that stuff, like the Sapphire and the Topps Chrome. So if it has like a rabid niche market, I think it'll do okay. If they printed it into the ground, I would be worried. Like whatever the next set is out, like they're probably going to overprint it because of the hype. So it's definitely not for me. I wouldn't put any money into it. But I mean, I've had Hannah on my channel a couple times, and she's huge in the F1. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of there's not a lot of it out there. So it doesn't take a lot for the market to get increased on it quickly because the playing field's so small.
Yeah.
The people that want it really seem to want it.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of like Neo said, it is printed less than the other products. I think the community for the F1 stuff is quite small. However, that small community of people has deep pockets. So when you see cards go up for sale, people just kind of buy them for what the sellers are kind of asking for them because they have deep pockets to buy them. You know, if there's a refractor of Lewis Hamilton and somebody wants $5,000 for it, someone who walks up to it with lots of money is going to be like, here you go, $5,000. That's nothing. As opposed to saying, I don't think it's worth that much. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's very, very popular within its own parameter of people that or demographic of people that collect it. And I believe that demographic also has deep pockets, because if people couldn't afford the prices that's being asked for it, then obviously the prices would go down just because people would be like, I got to move this card. I can't move it at this price. I got to lower my price. But because they're able to find high dollar buyers, the stuff is selling at high dollar.
I guess my question is, and Steve, maybe you're somebody I feel like that would know this. Are there vintage F1 cards? You know, because we have like this new product, but is there, Michael Schumacher cards or whatever? Like, because to me, that would make a lot more sense. Like, is this something where it's like, is this like the 2014 Prism of soccer? But really like, the long-term value is probably in like the Maradona sticker or the Schumacher sticker or whatever, I don't know. Like I'm asking, do you guys know any of that
If
stuff?
I was going to spend a couple thousand on a Lewis Hamilton card, that's what I would do. There are some, and they're going to be like your oddball type cards, maybe, like food brands or out of a game, like some of the wrestling cards, like the Cardinal trivia game for WWF. And it had like the Stone Cold and the Rock cards in it that were worth a lot of money. It's going to be stuff like that. There's a Roger Federer card, like the Mike Tyson trivia game card that's worth a lot. I know that Lewis Hamilton has a card in a set like that. And I know Michael Schumacher has some older cards too, because I've seen them on my slabs being sold graded. If I were to invest in F1, that's the route that I would take. However, I'm just staying away from it because I don't know enough about it. I don't even know the drivers. I don't know how it works. I don't watch it. So,
yeah,
I can't even give you a full opinion on the sport itself.
Like most people, I'm with you. I just don't. I don't get it. I understand the legends, but I just feel like this is just kind of a Loco Card Collector says it right here. Flippers are making their plays on F1 right now because it's hot. It seems like an opportunity because it's new and flashy.
Yeah, it's the next shiny object in the room. It's just a matter of does it stick and what does the market look like in a year? I don't know that we know.
Mario Andretti stuff. Okay. So yeah, that would be more of interest to me, based on what we know about other stuff, I guess, based on soccer, based on some of the other things we've seen. Remember that Maradona that guy showed up with? That was like a $300,000 card at the trade night at Car Collector 2's trade night.
Oh yeah, I held it. he wanted to
of it. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? This guy's just walking around. I'm asking like $250. like 250 G's. Like I'd have it like wrapped up in, like I'd have it like in a Brinks truck driving through the room.
The funny thing was that exact same sticker was linked to me by someone in my Facebook group because they knew I was, into that kind of stuff. And they were like, hey, this guy's looking to sell this if you have any interest. And they had sent me the photo and everything. And this was probably 2 months ago, at least. And I was like, no, it's out of my ballpark. That the exact same sticker showed up because I went back and looked at the picture that the person had linked to me. And it had the same serial number on it. Hold on.
Dustin, I have a key question for you. Is this more viewers than you get when Brad is on?
I think
We've broken your record.
I think that's why he's being weird in the chat, because he's a little weirded out by the fact that there's 220 there. I think we were up to about 225 on the high. I think he's a little, and we've gotten up to about that before, but that's where it tops. So we're kind of at a point. If we get to 250, I've never had 250 on a live stream before. So guys, if you really want to have Brad's head explode, please text, call all your friends, parents, just to log in for a few minutes so we can get this number up to 250. That's why he's being all awkward in the chat. It's kind of sad, really, isn't it? It's really sad.
Yeah, he is probably, I think he is probably scaring him off.
Brad's actually trying to, and if I probably have 12 dislikes, and it's all of Brad's fake accounts.
I like Loco Card Collector's take there.
Absolutely. Yeah, Brad, we need to talk about our off-centered show. We're going to need to probably make some tweaks.
I heard Thursdays are bad.
Yeah, there's so much good content out to compete against. Thoughts on LBJ Topps Chrome 10s? This is a perfect guy to be talking to about this. As a LeBron fan, you own an 8 or a 9 of this, right?
An 8, yeah, just an 8.
What is your take? Because I don't keep track of this on a daily, weekly basis, but for me personally, I know I'm going to catch all sorts of wrath. I still think these are a little bit overpriced at $20K or whatever they are.
Well, they're not 20 right now. They're back down to about 15.
Okay.
So they went right after the final, or right after they got eliminated from the playoffs. Like where I bought my 8 was just past the low point. They were down to like 13, I think, like 13.5, 14. And then they got pumped a little bit there, and they did go back up over 20, or right at 20. And then they've since come back down to about 15. I think you could get them, if you were willing to go all cash at the National, you could probably have gotten one for 14, give or take. I think I saw Sasha buy and sell some for around 14 on a couple of his videos, and that seemed to be about the going rate. Like if you really wanted one, you probably could have got a deal done with the right vendor. I think they're probably going to sit around that number like that. I think they're going to kind of bounce between the 14 and 16K number. And then it'll probably just depend on what the season does. So I think if you're on that card long-term, you're fine. Like, sure, it might go back down a little bit, but if you're saying you're buying one to hold for 5, 10, 15 years, I think you'll do just fine at even 15.
Yeah, it's an interesting card for sure because it's not super rare. I mean, how many 10s are there? About 2,000?
Yeah, give or take. I could check on the other screen here. It's not, you're right, it's not super rare, but it also doesn't have the price point of like an 86 Jordan. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's talking about 20K, not hundreds of Ks. I just think that's going to be a card that a lot of people are always going to want. So you'll be able to find it easy. But if you have one, I think you'll always be able to move it relatively easy. Like that, I just feel like that card's always going to have demand.
About to break the internet, West Texas Wax.
2,100 10s, 3,000 9s.
Yeah, that's an interesting card. I think that the one thing with that card as well is just because it's not mega rare, again, with the backlog at PSA, that's an interesting card as to it's my same thought with the 86 sticker Jordan, because I almost pulled the trigger on one of those. I don't know if you were with me, Neo, when I was at there's one particular booth that had 7 PSA 7 Jordan sticker rookies and then a BGS 6.5. And he was selling them for $1,200 for the PSA 7 and $1,000 for the 6.5, which is right where the comps were, the eBay comps at the time. It was priced to sell 2 days later, I came back. I saw it on Thursday. I come back Saturday. He's got them all still sitting there. And that's a card where I wonder, I mean, 86 Fleer was printed like crazy. I mean, Steve was talking about how they used to have packs of 86 Fleer basketball in the grocery store, when he was a kid. So it's not like that was a limited set by any stretch. And so along with like that LBJ Topps Chrome, and then like a card like, a card like that 86 Jordan sticker, like what's that going to look like in a year, 18 months with the backlog? I don't think there's going to be a million of them, but
that card wouldn't even qualify for the backlog though. It would be out of the price range parameters.
How do you mean?
Because you can only submit certain card values for the slow turnaround times. That card would blow out. You have to submit that card at like Express or Super Express.
Okay. All right.
Because of the way the PSA does their banding prices on submissions. Like if it's X amount of declared value, it has to go as Express or Super Express. Or higher, depending on what it is. So there's no way there's LeBron 03 Chromes in the backlog.
What's that cutoff? Because the Jordan
like 5K.
Okay, so the Jordans could fit in there, but not the LeBrons.
They could, but the problem is though, if you're sending a Jordan, you're probably hoping for a higher grade. You know what I mean? It just depends, I guess. And even still, you still couldn't send that bulk. Bulk is a $500 cutoff, I think.
Okay.
So it would have to go. It would have to have gone at minimum, probably regular or express service would be my guess.
Okay.
So that stuff would be well out of the backlog.
Good. I learned something today. There we go. I don't have to worry about it.
So regular max declared value is $1,000.
Okay.
So it would probably go in at Express at minimum, and they've been caught up on that stuff forever.
All right. Good stuff. Anybody have any good Peyton Manning cards? I saw a really nice. I almost pulled the trigger on a quad auto. I think it was National Treasures. Maybe it was just an upper deck card, but there was some really nice Manning cards. I wasn't buying any Manning though because of the lead up to the Hall of Fame. I'd rather just wait on that. Like those cards will be there, and right now you've got all the hoopla around Hall of Fame, so I'm not, I'm not buying any, but I will be buying some down the line a little bit.
To me, there's never any rush to grab those guys. Like we talked about earlier, kind of with your Namath auto, there's not going to be a lot of things that are going to happen that are drastically going to spike that card in price. And on the flip side, there's not going to be a lot that happens that tanks that card in price. So I think the problem with stuff like that is that you kind of just always push it off for the shinier object. And you're like, I could just get that later for maybe a little bit more. Whereas this shiny toy may, double in price next week because something happens.
What's the difference between, and I understand, just kind of GOAT players, but, you have the Jordan, Kobe, LeBron auto stuff. And if you look at Beckett on that Beckett website, it'll give you all the, like how many autos these guys have. You can, look up every single player. And yes, LeBron has signed less stuff and Jordan has signed less stuff, but the price points are just so different. I mean, for LeBron, Jordan and Kobe, compared to Joe Namath or whatever. And Joe Namath has signed less stuff, so it's like
it's demand. It's simple.
It's interesting though. I mean, that whole just looking at that stuff is interesting. There was a comment here that I wanted to address. Yeah. JJ Bama going hard on Carson Wentz. Hard. Yeah, the Manning SP Authentic is a nice card. Chrome 50.
I mean, we talk about what will make some of these retired players or legends and stuff go up in price. And so sometimes we don't necessarily really look at investing in them because we feel like we have time. However, in January, the first 3 to 4 months of this year, we saw a huge run up on that stuff. From 1980 to 2000, a whole 20-year time frame of where you saw Iverson, who's retired, go up. You saw Manning, who we were just talking about, triple, quadruple in price. We saw run-ups on Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, guys that were not playing. I don't know what caused that, but there was a catalyst that caused that to happen. Maybe it was just the market in general and people being tired of the new stuff or the new players not playing due to shutdowns and things like that. People having to watch old sports and reruns and old shows on television and getting educated on some of these players. I'm not really sure. Could have been a combination of things, but if you were holding those cards then, you were like, man, I'm glad I bought these, and because there was a huge spike on them. So yeah, there is the thing where you can be like, hey, I want to be patient on these, but a lot of people who thought that, in 2020 were wishing at the beginning of 2021 that they weren't patient on their veterans and their Hall of Famers and stuff.
Didn't a lot of that stuff already come all the way back down to almost basically where it was? I know some of the stuff stayed.
No, it didn't come down nearly where it started at.
It established new floors, but I think a lot of that was just driven by Jordan, quite frankly. That Jordan PSA 10 86 Fleer took off. That caused the LeBron Topps Chrome to spike, which then caused, it was basically a big trickle-down effect. The Jordan went up, so then everyone's like, well, if Jordan's this price, LeBron has to be this price now. So then the LeBron went up, and then they're like, well, if those are that price, that means the Bird Johnson whatever rookie needs to go up. So then that went up, and then it's like, well, if that's that much, then Shaq rookies need to go up. It was just kind of like, it was literally rising tide lifts all boats, and it just happened fast. And then it crashed back just as fast.
And not even necessarily Jordan. I don't think it made sense to people that Luka Doncic Prisms rookies at the time were $1,000 plus, and players like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and such weren't seeing that, or seeing similar. I mean, even if you look at a Luka silver, okay, yeah, I know it's a silver, and in a 10, that card is probably what, $5K minimum? I don't even know. I don't look at the market on that.
55
but
right now.
Should a Luka silver cost $5K when you can buy, like a PSA 8 Bird Magic rookie card for that much? I think what happened was people either smartened up to the market or they did comparisons and they were like, all right, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that these modern cards are so high on players that are still trying to build their careers, and people who are considered top 10 players of all time. I'm not just talking about good players. There's good players and they come and they go. And then there's players that transcend eras that will always be talked about. And I think that's where it started to make sense that their cards went up, or didn't make sense that their cards were so down.
Got a question from Cards and Comics. And by the way, Cards and Comics has his own station as well. And he has a wicked copy of Avengers 1. I saw that on one of his videos. So Cards and Comics, if you're ever looking to offload that, I think it was a CGC 1 or it's a lower grade, maybe a 2, but let me know. That's a great book. Do you invest in Jordan College autos now, or do they tank as people only want Bulls autos? I don't know if this really pertains, kind of like the draft picks, the college unis. I feel like Jordan kind of is an exception to that rule. I know that my wife went to UNC. So anytime I see the Jordan UNC stuff, I think it's just as cool as his Bulls stuff. And there's a ton of UNC fans that are also obviously Jordan fans. So I think that there's always going to be collectability with Jordan College autos. And that would be an example of something that would actually probably be an example of me being able to get a Jordan auto is in the college uni. If for some reason it dips because there's some sort of weird market inefficiency, I would love to have, that Jordan College stuff I think is awesome, but that's just me.
I think it'll always go for less than the Bull stuff, but it'll have a high floor because it's Jordan.
Steve, how much Jordan Bulls auto? How many Jordan autos do you have?
I don't own any. The only Jordan auto that I ever bid on was actually there was two cards that were very similar. They were from Exquisite, and they were the first one I was going after was Bird Magic Jordan autoed on the same card. It was an Exquisite. It went for $6K, and I missed it. And it was numbered out of 10, I believe. And then another one came up numbered out of 5, but it was a quad, and it was those three players with LeBron on it. Now, it didn't necessarily make sense because they're not from the same era, but, you third LeBron on something, it's really going to go. And I actually bid hard on that. I went 10K on that card. That's the most I've gone on any raw card in my life. It was a raw Exquisite quad auto of those four on the front, on card, numbered out of 5. They were all in their college uniforms, except LeBron was in his high school uniform. I mean, it was just a photo of their chest up, but you could see enough of the jersey to make it out. And that card ended up going for a little bit over 12K, I believe, but I was out at 10. But that's the closest I've ever been. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, I really wish I probably would have pushed really hard for that card and not had a bunch of the stuff that I do have invested in and just had a lot of money really tied up into that. But again, that's a lot.
That's a sweet card. Yeah, I'd love to make a
probably never see it again. Numbered out of 5. When somebody buys something like that, more than likely it's being put away. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say they let you buy the cards back, but stuff like that does not fall into that category.
I preferred the one without LeBron on it, and that's no hate on LeBron at all. If I got a LeBron dual or triple auto or something, I would just prefer there be different players on it. Like I would prefer like a LeBron and a Dwayne Wade auto or a LeBron Shaq auto. I wanted the Jordan Magic Bird auto because that's the era that I remember growing up in.
Right. Absolutely. I saw a comment that nobody watched Larry Bird, or no one watched Larry Bird as a kid. Steve, do you have something to say about that?
No one watched Larry Bird as a kid?
Yeah, like nobody.
Hey,
that was the comment I saw up here.
You know what's funny is if you watch YouTube.
Hey guys, we're old. Okay, we saw these guys.
And because I like Larry Bird, if you watch YouTube, and here's another thing. Here's another thing that opens people's eyes up to these older players is you can watch YouTube reaction videos. It'll be like YouTube. Yeah, there'll be like a YouTube reaction videos, and you'll see like a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old watching a Larry Bird mixtape or watching a Magic Johnson mixtape. And they'll be like, I never got to see this player play. I've heard a lot about him. I'm going to watch his highlights and do a reaction on it. And, because their favorite player, you see a lot of people doing it for Jordan because in the title will be like LeBron James fan. And they'll come on. I think LeBron is the GOAT, but I never got to see Michael Jordan play, so I'm gonna watch a mixtape. And again, those people are watching it for the first time. Then they're going to spread the word to their friends and be like, "Damn, this guy was really good." And then it's going to hit a YouTube feed to where I'm even watching people react to the players that I used to love watch. It's kind of like the music reaction videos where people, watch music. And I'd like to watch people react to Pearl Jam because I want to see their response and relate to it. So that's another thing, in the card market, in the sports market, that can open people's eyes to how good somebody really was. You don't know how many videos I've watched of people watching Larry Bird and then being like, I always knew his name, but man, I didn't really know that. And the thing is that they're highlight videos, so that's all it's going to show also. But, people are noticing some of the older players through social media.
Yeah, this is something that bothers me a little bit. PSA slab guy, and you can probably definitely relate to what I'm about to say. But these guys used to talk so much trash, and they were not friends off the court. They were friendly a little bit, but it wasn't the same as today's NBA. I mean, if you look at what a technical foul, how easy it is to get a technical foul nowadays, and you go back to the 80s and watch the absolute bench clearing brawls that they had when it was like Celtics versus Pistons, like the bad boy Pistons out there, and the Bulls and all these teams. I mean, it was a whole different league back then. Not to say that it's was better than it was now and all that, but man, it was so different. The competitiveness among these guys was intense. It was really intense, and you didn't really have much of the super team stuff and all that. It was a different league for sure. Yeah, Dominique Wilkins was a maniac. I remember staying up and watching the Hawks and the Bulls just to watch these two guys. Yeah, they have some great highlights on YouTube.
Dominique, human highlight reel.
Yeah. Daddy Waffles with the best name in the biz, Daddy Waffles. Old school Nintendo Jordan versus Bird. I almost bought one of these games, not sealed, but in box. Complete in box because of that. It was such a cool game, and then also just kind of, iconic in its own way for video games.
Does anyone remember the video game? I think it was for Genesis. It might have been Celtics versus Bulls or Bulls versus Lakers. It was one of the first ones.
Lakers Celtics. Actually, there was a comment up here about it. Yeah.
And Tom Chambers was in that game and had this unstoppable two-handed double pump dunk that if you use the Phoenix Suns, it was impossible to lose because that move was unstoppable. And you jump from the three-point line. You come in on a 45-degree angle, and you go to shoot. You basically just go to shoot from the three-point line, but instead he just goes airborne and does this big monster two-hand dunk all the way down and comes in and dunks it. There's even YouTube videos specifically. It would be like a 15-second clip, and it says the Tom Chambers two-handed dunk of doom. And and you watch it. But I remember playing that and everybody being like, okay, you can't be the Suns because it's not fair. If you use the Suns, he'll score every time.
Commodore 64 was my first the home family computer. So I don't think I actually ever played this game, JJ Bama, but I played games like Mail Order Monsters, and I bought, actually have a copy of it. 4th and Inches was, I think, the first football game that was on Commodore 64. I bought a sealed copy of that just for fun recently. So yeah, I played Commodore 64. Double Dribble was a fun game too.
I saw some. I haven't got to check news. I'm out of touch with contracts, with transactions. I just, you know what I mean. If I'm not on here live streaming, I'm busy. But with the dog, and I think I saw something today that said Messi to PSG. Now, is that still just a rumor? Is that still in the talks, or did that happen?
It happened.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done.
Today.
This is for
10-yard fight.
Cards and Comics just mentioned this one.
10-yard fight. That was like the first game. It had like 2 plays: the screen pass and then the one that looks like a little hurl. Yeah. Or you could throw the screen pass and then throw it again, I think.
I've been chasing the black box NES games. That's really been fun to go through. I've got an Excite Bike as well up here. I've got an original Super Mario Brothers, but I've been going after those. I've got Hogan's Alley and Duck Hunt. It's good.
So I guess it was a 2-year contract. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I got off track.
So he's reunited with Neymar because they played together a lot in Barcelona, and he was not happy when Neymar left, when they let him leave. But will they be able to keep Mbappe through that 2-year timetable as well? That'd be interesting.
About soccer, so you're asking the wrong questions.
And how long can these guys play at a high level? Like, I mean, these guys are getting up there in age. It's incredible.
I don't know, man. These guys keep themselves. You ever seen Cristiano Ronaldo? Like, he keeps himself in like better shape than probably 80% of the young players.
Yeah, he's like the LeBron of soccer players. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it. We're at an hour and 20 minutes, and it's past my bedtime. And yeah, it's a card chat, and now we're getting into games and everything else. So thank you very much for coming on. Brad is crying in a corner of his room somewhere, seeing how many people actually tuned in. We got up to, I think, 230 or 240 people. So thanks very much for joining. If you have not subscribed yet to Neo Cards and Comics and Flipping Steve, please do so. They have got amazing channels and all sorts of card knowledge they're throwing at you on a daily basis, every other day basis. So check them out. Guys, I appreciate you coming on. I haven't had Steve on in a while, and I've never had Neo on my channel. So we'll have to do
I don't know if I've ever been on your channel before. You popped into a couple random live streams on mine, but
yeah. So we'll have to do it more often for sure. Yeah, I'm not crying. I got something in my eye. Yeah, Brad, we need to rethink Thursdays because we might have to switch this whole thing up. We might have to switch this whole thing up. We'll see. You might be like the Brian Stelzer. Who's that guy that's like his ratings are down the tank?
You got Wally pipped.
Yeah. You're moving down the line here, buddy. All right, guys. Thanks very much. I appreciate you joining. We will talk to you again later.
Peace.
See ya.